YouTube, we are back on tiermaker.com, and in today's video, we're going to be ranking pretty much every single NBA player, or at least 233 of them, for the 2024-25 NBA season. You know, I was pretty critical of ESPN's top 100 players list, so I thought, you know what, let's go bigger, let's go bolder, and let's do our own rankings to set the record straight. And so this could be a long video. Hopefully you guys have a snack. Quick shout out to Cade's Championship Wrestling for making this tier list. I don't know them, but shout out to them for making the tier list. And first things first, I do want to talk about the kind of tier order and what I'm thinking of the criteria for each tier. So for the S tier, I'm going to have like the top 5 NBA players, and in my opinion, there is a clear-cut top 5 in the NBA, and then you start to see a little bit of a separation between 5 and basically like 6 to, I don't know, 15 or 20. So the top 5 will be S tier, and in my opinion, those are, you know, pretty clear-cut. Now in the A tier, as I stated, this is for like elite players that just aren't in the top 5. You know, this is basically, like I said, from like 6 to maybe 20 to 25. I think there is a good chunk of players within this tier that are, you know, pretty similar in terms of where they would rank. Some might be a little higher than others, but I do think there is a big tier of a lot of those guys. These are guys that are borderline superstar players or superstar players that realistically could be really good number 1 options, and we've seen them be good number 1 options. So these are like, you know, all NBA caliber guys that are just like elite NBA players. There's a good chunk of them here in this A tier. And then B tier, I'm going to have something like these guys could be number 1 options maybe in the future. Maybe they're very close, and also if you put them on a, you know, contending team right now, they could be like a very solid number 2 option, just not quite on this level of the A tier players. For the C tier, I'm gonna have like really good role players, and this could be like a 3rd option on a pretty good team, or this could be like an essential piece to a contender. Not quite a star player, but impacts the game on kind of a star level. And so this is kind of like elite role player territory in C tier. In D tier, I'm gonna have like serviceable role players, right? Like these guys are good rotation players on winning caliber teams, or that at least they could be just good role players that you can trust in a rotation. And then the F tier, I'm going to have players that, you know, are really borderline rotation players, maybe not even rotation players, who just happen to be on this tier list. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bad. You know, I don't think a lot of these players are bad on this list. Most of them are really good. It's just I have to rank them, you know, in some kind of order, and this is where a lot of those guys will go. Borderline kind of rotation players here. And so let's get right into the tier list. With all that being said, if you guys do enjoy it, obviously please leave a like and subscribe. We're going to be covering stuff like this almost every day on this channel, so if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. It really mean a lot to me, and I would love to have you as a part of Dehave Nation, which is our growing community. Have to mention that as a YouTuber, it's my job. And starting with Aaron Gordon, he makes a perfect candidate for the C tier, you know, as the criteria I laid out. Just an elite role player, you know, not quite a B tier, you know, borderline star type of player. You could make a case for that. I just don't think so. I think Aaron Gordon's just a really great role player, one of the best in the league. He'll definitely be towards the top of the C tier by the time the list concludes. That's where I'm going to have him for now. Anthony Davis doesn't quite crack my top 5, but he is certainly, you know, a top 10 caliber player. He's already playing like an MVP candidate this season for the Lakers, who are 5-4 at the time we're recording this video. He is, you know, going to be towards the top of the A tier here, probably in my top 10 if I had to give a top 10 ranking. So, you know, not quite a top 5 player, but he will be, again, towards the top of this A tier once the list concludes. Now, Al Horford, this is going to be an interesting one for me because, you know, I could go C tier and I could go D tier. Gut feeling just feels like a good quality serviceable role player, but the more I think about it, he's so essential to that Celtics team. I'm gonna have him in D tier for now. We'll have to see how this shakes up. You know, if I feel more comfortable with having him in C tier by the end of it, we'll just have to see. Until then, he's gonna go in the top elite tier of this D tier here. A lot of rhymes there. Alex Caruso, you know, I know he's really shot poorly to start the season for the Thunder. Hopefully that will, you know, stop happening for them, but I will have him in the top tier of like C. I don't think he's quite Aaron Gordon status, but definitely a guy that is an elite role player in this league. No question. He's going to be in the C tier. Now, Alex Sarr, kind of a tough one here. I'm going to have to go F because this is just for right now. Like these rankings are for this season in particular. And so, you know, Alex Sarr, not quite a serviceable rotation player just quite yet. He does have some limitations. I know he's shooting poorly to start the season. I know he's going to be a really good NBA player in the future. No question for me. I think he has some super high upside defensive potential, but just for now, I don't think he is a guy you could trust out there on a winning team with big minutes like an Al Horford or like some of these guys up here. Alperen Sengun, he's going to be in the B tier for me. You know, this is going to be a guy that in a couple years could be in this A tier, you know, top 20, top 25, you know, caliber player. I think he's certainly trending in that direction. He is the best player on the Rockets, no question for me. I just think he is a little bit just a step away from that A tier. Amen Thompson, this is a guy you'd probably put in D tier. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to have to move Al Horford Horford up a little bit into the C tier already, because while I do think Amen Thompson is a good role player and, you know, is a very, very dynamic type of potential player, just right now at the time of recording this, he's yet to kind of put it all together and add a lot of polish to his game. And so I will have to put Al Horford just a little bit above. He is a great role player, and so I think that's kind of where I'm going to have him now for D. Amen Thompson Ant is going to be, you know, A tier, no question. Borderline top 10 player, certainly a top 15 player in this league, no question about it. This guy's an all NBA caliber player. He has the ability to, you know, elevate his Timberwolves to Western Conference Finals status as the best player, and he's just absolutely special as a talent. He's easily going to be, you know, in this top section of A tier towards the end of the video. Just a great player, arguably top 10 in this league. Now, Ausar Thompson, this one's tough because I feel like he's so great at defense and haven't really seen him on the floor too much this season, and so it's kind of hard to judge him. But for now, I'm going to have to go F tier just because, you know, if I'm going by last season, you know, I don't know if I'd trust Ausar Thompson on the offensive end of the floor to be a, you know, quality, serviceable role player on both ends on a playoff caliber team, and that is my criteria for, you know, the D tier. And so I think Amen's a little bit closer to that type of status. I think he's a little bit more developed offensively, and, you know, Ausar, again, defensive upside through the roof, you know, DPOY caliber defender if he puts it all together in his career, probably. But just for now, I'm going to have to go F. You know, he's probably going to be one of the better F guys, but at the end of the day, that's where I have him. Ayo Dosunmu, this is an intriguing role player here. I think for the Bulls, he's struggled so far this season, you know, early on in 2025, but at the end of the day, this player is a really good backup point guard. You know, towards the end of last season, really shot the ball well, started putting things together in his career to a point where this is one of the better young talents on that team. Certainly a guy you could trust last season in crunch time, in winning type of situations, and so I think D tier is fair for him, although if he continues to shoot poorly, we might have to reconsider. But total body of work, this guy, no question, is a, you know, rotation caliber player on a good team. DeAndre Ayton, this is kind of a weird one to rank here. I'm probably gonna have to go C tier, right? Because, you know, to say that DeAndre Ayton can't be a really good center on a winning basketball team is crazy, because we've seen him be one of the top players on a finals caliber team with the Phoenix Suns just a few years ago. I know things have gone a little awry in his career so far after that, but unfortunately hasn't really lived up to all of the, you know, superstar star center type of expectations. Still a really good center in this league, you know, a double-double machine, talented player around the basket offensively, not in a situation where he's going to win a lot of games in Portland right now, but if you're going to say he's a role player, he's got to be a really, really great one. So, you know, C tier makes a lot of sense, and probably going to bump him up over Caruso. Maybe not quite Aaron Gordon just yet, but Marvin Bagley, you know, kind of a weird last couple of years for him. You know, on Washington last season, actually performed pretty well statistically, but not a guy I'd feel so confident with. You know, I'm going to go with, it's really difficult because I just feel like you could go either way. I'm going to do some quick research, look at his numbers here, and determine then. Looks like he's out of the rotation in Washington. You know, could be an injury thing. He's played 5 games, averaging 7 minutes per game. And so right now, I'm just going to have him, you know, in the F tier. Not really a guy, I guess, even Washington could trust in the rotation. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. Bam Adebayo going to be A tier. You know, no question, a top 20, 25 player in the league. Even top 20 is certainly fair for him. One of the greatest defensive players of this kind of last 3 seasons era, right? He is so dynamic in space, in, you know, versatility. You know, defensively, he is just absolutely a monster. Doesn't get enough credit for his defense, in my opinion. And so offensively, he's improved quite a bit as well. Has provided the Heat a lot of stability throughout their lineup when players have gone down. Just on both ends of the floor, a true star and an all-NBA caliber guy. This is an easy A tier for me for Bam Adebayo. Desmond Bane, another example of this B tier, right? This is a really good second option at his best. He is such a great perimeter scorer, one of the best shooters in the league, period. Desmond Bane has improved shot creation wise as well and provides good, you know, quality effort on the defensive end of the floor. And so easy B tier for me. Not quite a star, not quite an all-star. You know, could be an all-star caliber guy. I think that's kind of a fair depiction of him. In a loaded Western Conference, he's probably not going to make too many all-star games, you know, just with his production. But at the end of the day, this is a very, very talented B tier player. You know, I think pretty easy selection here for me in this kind of in-between tier of elite role player and star or superstar, right? Kyle Lowry is a serviceable rotation piece, you know, for my Sixers. And as a Sixers fan, I've just been so pleased with his stability that he brings to my team. You know, there's a lot of chaos going on throughout the season so far, and he's been the one constant, really, that's kind of always seems to hit shots when your team needs it, always seems to, you know, do little things like take charges and dive on the ground for loose balls, you know, always seems to be an agitator, you know, of the other team's, you know, guards, whoever he's guarding, really. And so just a very quality backup point guard, the type of guy that you could lay down down the stretch of a playoff game and feel good about it. Vucevic, another one that's kind of difficult for me. I'm probably going to have to go in this C tier. I know he shot the ball very well this season to start out for Chicago, and he is a super underrated offensive talent at the center position. Another double-double machine, just a very good center. Defensively has his limitations, but at the end of the day, Vucevic is an easy 15 and 10 guy on a pretty dynamic offense, and so I think you have to put him in this C tier, not quite in this B tier with guys like Sengun or Desmond Bane, but certainly a very quality offensive, starting center in this league. Now, I believe this is Blake Wesley, and Blake Wesley, he's on a Spurs team with kind of a logjam at guard minutes at the moment, but at the end of the day, I just think F tier is fair. For the other guys we're going to have in here, I think, this is a solid kind of spot for him. Not, again, these aren't bad players in F tier. These are just guys with, maybe they haven't realized their potential yet. A lot of them are young. Again, that's not really a knock on these players individually. That's just kind of how it is. Bobby Portis, this is a great role player, no question for me. I think Bobby is super underrated as far as his role player status goes. He's been a leading candidate for Sixth Man of the Year a few times now. He's probably going to do it again. He's just a really good offensive player, a fierce competitor. Love his energy, love his motor, love his perimeter spacing at times for the Bucks, and just his soft touch. He's just a very talented offensive big. Certainly, a really great role player, standout role player type of guy. Bogdanovic, another guy I think you have to put in this standout role player type of category here. This, he's just a pure bucket, Bogey. You'd love to see him have a chance on a really great team again. I think that's kind of due for Bogey. We'll have to see what happens towards the deadline with this guy, but if you guys watch the Olympics or you've just been following the Hawks at all, throughout the last few years, he's just a pure bucket. Such a dynamic shooter, in this league, and so C tier makes a lot of sense for me personally. I'm gonna have to do some rearranging here. Give me a second. All right, yeah, I think that's good. Speaking of Bogdanovic, Bojan Bogdanovic, have seen a little bit of a drop off in his production over the past couple years. First with the Knicks, that's due to change because he's not on the Pistons where he's gonna get all those shots. He did perform well as a catch and shoot guy, such a lethal catch and shoot guy. Also has the ability to put it on the floor, and score offensively. Has, again, some defensive limitations, but at the end of the day, Bojan, one of the more efficient, pure offensive guys that we've seen in a long time. Perimeter, mid-range game, right? He's just a bucket. I believe he's injured at the moment for Brooklyn, and so I can't, really judge his season so far, but just for now, I think he's definitely a serviceable rotation player. We'll just have him maybe just above Kyle Lowry here. Definitely a guy that could be on the move towards the deadline once again here. Bradley Beal, easy B tier for me. Another guy that's just so talented. Shooting, playmaking, right? Ball handling. He's just a great offensive weapon for the Phoenix Suns, and I think, Desmond Bane might be a little bit behind him at this point, but I'd probably have him around here. I think you could make a case Bane's a little bit better. I just think Bradley Beal has proved it for so many seasons now, and I know he's not quite the player he was just a few years ago, 30 points per game type of guy, right? But if we're ranking like best third options in the league, he's got to be top 3 in that regard. Easily top 5, I would say. Bradley Beal's just a great talent offensively. I don't know, it's kind of a tough one here between him and Bane. I'd probably put him just behind Bane, although I don't feel great about that. Let me know down in the comments section who's a better player. Probably at this point I have Desmond Bane just a little bit higher, but I could be swayed either way. B-Pods, Brandon Podziemski, I think there's a case to be made that he's either C or D. I think C, I don't know. I like B-Pods a lot, and I think he's certainly due for, a much larger type of production season than he's been having so far and that he's had last season as a rookie, but I think this is a standout role player. I will be honest. I just think he's a little bit better than these guys down here and some of the guys we're going to see, and so, I could hear a case either way, but another one I'm just not feeling great about. Let me do some research here. Yeah, he's just not shooting well this season so far, even though the Warriors are winning a lot of games, but he's finding other ways to impact the game. I don't know, man. This is tough. I don't want to fill this tier too much. We'll leave him for now. Brandon Clark, I think I'd probably have Brandon Clark in the C tier, no question, just because it's just a great backup for one of the best probably in the league. A guy you can really trust out there. Good lob threat, great athlete, good offensive rebounder, great finisher. I really just like his, solid game. Doesn't try to do too much. Just a great role player here. I might have to move B-Pods, but I feel like if you told me in 5 games that his, shooting numbers went up, then I'd have to, I don't know. I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave him for now. Brandon Ingram, this is a B tier player if I've ever seen one. Just such a supremely talented offensive guy. I think he's probably going to be towards the top of a B tier for me right now. He's already having a really good season with the Pelicans. He's shooting more threes and he's making them at a good rate. I'd say of the Pelicans season so far, he's been the best thing about it. There's just been a lot of guys in and out of the lineup. There's been a lot of injuries, and it's so unfortunate because the Pelicans have a really good team, but he's played great, and this is just a player, Brandon Ingram, that is just so smooth and polished offensively and such a great playmaker for his position. One of the best I've ever seen at his size, as a playmaker. He just sees the game really well, and he's got a great IQ and makes so many dynamic plays with his vision. I love Brandon Ingram as a player. Interesting to see what happens with him, whether or not he'll extend with the Pelicans. I feel like if he was going to, it already would have happened, but we'll have to see. Brandon Miller's going to have to be in the C tier for me, towards the top of C tier though, because I could even hear a case by the end of the season he's going to be in this B tier, because what a dynamic shooter. He's just so great from outside the arc. And I think he's kind of improved as a playmaker too. I might even slide Brandon Miller up. I don't know how I feel about that. I think he's on breakout watch. I've said multiple times now on this channel, he's going to be one of the guys to watch for breakout seasons. I know he's been, improving defensively, so we'll have to see what kind of defender he turns out to be, but I think if he starts to add a little bit more to his game, not just from the scoring side of things, he needs to complete his game a little bit more, but I think he certainly will. He's one of the younger players in the league and has already had so much success. I think by the end of the season, he'll be in the B tier, but just for now, this is kind of where I have him. This is Malachi Branham. I think I'm going to have him in the D tier. That's pretty easy for me. Serviceable guy you could put in a rotation on a good basketball team. He is a pretty good offensive player. I like his overall type of utility piece type of game, and I think it's pretty serviceable, no question. Malcolm Brogdon, another tough one, man. I'm going to have to put him in C tier. At his best when he's healthy, we saw him win Sixth Man of the Year. We saw him have such efficient numbers throughout his career, and he just hasn't been healthy all that much and hasn't been on good teams really of late. And so just a very solid offensive bench player that I think could be, if you put him on a winning team right now and he's healthy, I think he makes another Sixth Man of the Year type of push. Just very efficient, great shooter, solid enough playmaker. Like, he just does all the right things out there, and so easily going to be C tier for me. Bronny James, he's headed to the G League at the time we recording this. I just don't think we can really judge him yet. It's just not enough of a sample size. People say, oh, nepotism and he doesn't belong in the league. Well, I don't know how you can judge that so far. We've seen so many 55th overall picks spend time in the G League and improve and come back and make an impact on their team. We've seen it from undrafted players. Certainly we've seen it from players with less quality athletic attributes as Bronny James, and so he's a great athlete, and so it's just too hard to judge the player right now, and so I'm going to have him in F tier. Obviously not a serviceable enough rotation player, but that doesn't really, again, tell the full story of his career so far, and it's just not enough of a sample size, and so we have to wait a few years on this player. He's going to have to develop, Jalen Brunson, A tier for me. Easy money, right? I think Jalen Brunson definitely ahead of Bam here, but this is certainly a top 15 type of talent. At his best, he's lower end of top 10. He's just such a great offensive player, such a skilled force offensively from that point guard position, playmaking, shooting, scoring in that mid-range area, drawing fouls, right? Late game heroics, leading his teams above where you think he can, right? Just a very skilled guy at that A tier for me. And Buddy Hield, who has had some great games with the Warriors so far, and so I think he's easily C tier, right? No question. I mean, Buddy Hield, I'm probably gonna have to move B pods down, unfortunately. You look at guys like Bojan Bogdanovic. When I'm looking at some of the guys here, they're just a little bit more proven, and I just think B pods has to show me, he has to show me that he's capable. But if he is, we could see him take a leap to some of these other tiers, but I just don't feel great about it with some of these other guys we have ahead of him. Just don't think he's there yet. But Buddy Hield, one of the best shooters of all time. He's a great shooter. He's just a real threat anytime he's out there on the court. C tier makes a lot of sense for me. Cade Cunningham is B tier, no question. That's an easy one. Cade gets a lot of flack for his team losing, but actually they're playing better at the time of recording this. But if you look at his numbers this year, he's him. He is clearly the guy on this team. I talked about it on Re-Championship Drive Pistons podcast. Shout out to Lance and Zach for having me on again. Go check that out if you haven't already. Re-Championship Drive is a great podcast. But we talked about the Pistons and Cade Cunningham being the star player for this team. And if you look at his numbers, these are all NBA numbers he's putting up. He's the type of player that in a couple of years, if you told me he broke out to superstardom and ended up in this A tier, I'd probably believe you, because that's just the way he's playing and the way his career is trending, and the talent that he has will lend itself to an A tier type of player in a couple of years. So Caleb Martin, has had kind of a rocky start with my Sixers. I love his game. He's such a versatile defender, does a lot of great things defensively, can guard a lot of different types of matchups, and honestly at his best offensively, he's just a really great complementary role player. And so I think Caleb Martin's got to be in the C tier of standout guys, right? Like, I don't know that I'd just say serviceable, because when you look at some of his playoff performances, against Boston and teams like that, he's just played well above what is expected of him. And so I think if he continues to do that, hopefully for my Sixers, I don't know how you could not put him in C tier. I think just his defense alone, if he's not shooting well, or it's just so dynamic, keep him on the floor, even when he's not playing well offensively. But I just think he's a little bit better than these guys down here, if I'm being honest with you guys. Cam Johnson, this is a top end of C tier role player. We're really starting to fill up this C tier here, so maybe I have to make some adjustments later in the list, but this is kind of the way it is. Maybe I'm being a little bit too favorable to some of these guys like Buddy Hield and Caleb Martin, but I'm not so sure. I think I have it pretty good. Cam Johnson, excellent shooter, dynamic type of floor spacer for whatever team he's on. He has so much gravity on those catch and shoots. He's added a little bit more to his game off the dribble, and defensively he's a good defender that's capable of guarding multiple positions, super switchable. I love Cam Johnson's game. We have to see him stay healthy. Another guy that could be traded by the deadline. That'll be interesting to see. But Cam Thomas, another Cam from the Nets here. I don't know, man. Do I put him in? I think you have to go C at this point, but man, is he close to that B tier. Like, if he keeps scoring and scoring efficiently the way he has, I don't know. I mean, these guys are a little bit more complete, a lot more complete, I should say. But if he adds some more playmaking to his game, man, he will be in this B tier in no time. I don't know how I can feel good about putting a 26 points per game scorer on good efficiency in the C tier, but man, he is such an excellent scorer. He's just such a bucket. A fun guy to watch as well. Have to see him add a little bit more versatility and well-roundedness to his game. All of these guys up here do other things than just score, right? And so that's kind of where my head's at, right? But he's just so good at scoring, it's hard to put C, but I think that's where he has to be right now. Cam Whitmore hasn't shot the ball particularly well to start the season. I'm going to have to give him the benefit of the doubt because, at his best, I think he's a very good shooter and scorer in general. He's just a talented offensive player that I think has a lot of growth to do, but once he does it, he'll be a great offensive player. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and put him in this D tier for now. Serviceable enough. Unfortunately for the Rockets, they just have so many talented pieces. He hasn't seen a lot of playing time and hasn't really found his rhythm yet, but makes a lot of sense for me at D tier. C tier for Karis LeVert. This is a good offensive player. Cavs are 10-0 at the time of recording this. He's been a big part of it. He's shooting really efficiently. He can get a little bit inefficient at times, but so far I have to put him in C the way he's playing right now. Cason Wallace, another C tier guy. This is a player that's just so standout defensively and efficient enough offensively, as a shooter and decision maker. Just one of the best backup point guards in the league. He's gonna have to be in this A tier. The defense is staggering. It's just so great. He's just been such a big part of what the Thunder have done the last couple years, and such a great role player here, a standout role player. Chet Holmgren's B tier, no question. I mean, this is a player that I think will be an all-star this season. While his production hasn't taken a massive leap, he's just such a great two-way player. This is a guy that I think, when we're talking about rim protection, switchability defensively, he's a nightmare. He's going to be a DPOY candidate for hopefully 10 years to come, right? As far as offensively, he is such a great floor spacer for the Thunder, just a pure shooter as a big man type of stretch four. He's just a B tier player. There's no question about it. Christian Brown, the way he's playing so far this season, I have to put him in C. Again, we're really loading up the C tier, but there's just a lot of standout role players. You say, well, D-Have, how can all these guys be standout, right? If you have way more standouts than D tier players, serviceable guys, they can't all be standouts because then none of them stand out, right? I hear what you're saying. Maybe we'll do some rearranging later in the list, but I think at this point, I just have to put Christian Brown in the C tier, right? Like, he's just playing so well for Denver. Efficient basketball, just a winning type of player, right? CJ McCollum, this is a tough one. Probably going to have to put him. Oh man, he's so good offensively. He's so good. He's been injured this season. Let me look at his numbers real quick this season. Last season, he had a great year. Really great, like third option, on a winning type of team. He's only played 4 games, but he's put up CJ numbers. I think you have to, I think you have to put him in B tier. If we're going to put Bradley Beal here, I think it makes sense to put CJ, bottom half of B tier, like, really towards the end here. I don't know that you could say Aaron Gordon's not as good as CJ. He's just so great offensively. It's hard. Maybe I'll have to bump Aaron Gordon up. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Don McClinging, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt as well. I think he hasn't had an opportunity to really prove how good he is or could be as an NBA player sitting behind DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams III. But, I just think at the end of the day, he's going to be in this C tier, in this, maybe hopefully B tier if you're a Blazers fan. But we've already seen some good things from him on the defensive end of the floor. He's just a block machine, a good rebounder, just a big body down there. I think you have to put him in D tier, even though he hasn't really had the opportunity. Clint Capella is just a solid NBA big. I don't know if I'd say like a super above average center at this point in his career like he used to be, but I think if we're going to put guys like Vucevic and, DeAndre Ayton and Bobby Portis in here, we're going to have to put Clint Capella somewhere in this region as well. I think you have to say he's just a great rim runner and, at the end of the day, belongs in this C tier. Kobe White, wow, another tough one. one here. Oh man, if I'm gonna put Cam Thomas in C tier, do I put Kobe White in C tier? Ooh, this is getting difficult, folks. He's a lot better of a playmaker than Cam Thomas, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think if Cam Thomas played on a championship contender, he'd be averaging the volume that he is, as great of a scorer as he is. Oh, that's really, really tough. I don't think he's better than Aaron Gordon, though. I just don't think so. I'm gonna put Kobe White in C tier for now, at the top end of C tier, and I'm probably gonna have to move CJ down. Unfortunately, I don't know. This is so tough. Do we reserve the B tier for like the top of the top? Like, these guys here, away from my mouse and away from CJ, these are great, second option type of guys, third option type of guys, potentially even with like guys like Cade Cunningham, future first option type of guys. We put CJ in this tier. I just don't know. Cole Anthony, I think, is a serviceable role player. I think he definitely is a good offensive option off the bench. Makes a lot of sense for D tier for me. I don't necessarily know that he's a standout role player at this point in his career. Chris Paul is, though. He has to be in this C tier for me, no question. Damian Lillard, I'm struggling between B tier and A tier. I think with the way he's played so far this season, you'd say A tier, but I don't know. I think top of B tier, I just think he's a little bit behind some of these guys that we're going to have ahead of him. I don't know that he's necessarily that type of top 15 type of player that he was. I think he's more like top 30. I don't know. We'll have to see by the end of the list. Darius Garland, another guy that's certainly B tier for me. The way he's been playing this season, just leading, the Cavs is probably their second or third best player to a 10-0 record. Davion Mitchell, tough one. I think either D or F. Let me look at his numbers here real quick. I know he's been shooting a little bit better with Toronto. Playing a little bit better, perhaps. Okay, not really shooting the ball a lot better, but he is, putting up decent production here. 10 points per game, 6 assists on 2.5 turnovers. That's pretty good. I think serviceable makes sense, maybe towards the bottom tier of this. Devin Booker's A tier, easy A tier, superstar player, top 15, top 12 type of guy. DeAndre Hunter makes a lot of sense for me at the C tier level, maybe above some of these other guys here. I think he's a, really good scorer. I think around this Karis LeVert, Bobby Portis kind of range makes a lot of sense to me. He's that type of offensive punch, maybe off the bench. DeJounte Murray, this is a B tier player. I think he's a really good third option type of player. Really good playmaker, great playmaker. I think when he gets back for the Pelicans, he's gonna make a big impact on that team. Good scorer as well, and has upped his shooting production as the years have progressed. Abdia, C tier. It's pretty easy. I know he shot the ball poorly so far with Portland, but he's a good all-around player. Really good, versatile defender. Solid playmaker as well. Really good transition type of forward. DeMar DeRozan, another B tier guy. This is just a really good second, third option type of player. I don't really need to explain that. Derrick Jones Jr., C tier. Easy. I'm trying to get through these, but if I'm taking a little bit longer than you might think is necessary on some of these role players, it's because I really want to get this list right. It's really important to me, so just bear with me, folks. But yeah, Derrick Jones Jr., dynamic defender, has been a much better shooter, obviously one of the best dunkers in the league. Derek White, I was thinking about this going into the list, where would I rank someone like Derek White and Drew Holiday? Would I have to put them in B tier, or I put them at the top of C tier? Maybe we move some of these guys down from C tier. Give me a second here, folks. I don't know. I feel confident that these guys in C tier are better, a lot, noticeably better, even some of the lower tier ones, like Christian Brown, Buddy Hield, and Caleb Martin, than some of these D tier guys. So I think we have it right, based on my criteria. It's just a lot of players right now in C tier, but I'm gonna put Derek White in C tier. I don't think he's a second option or second best player on a winning team type of player. He's perfect, absolutely perfect, flawless in that fourth best player kind of role on a championship level team, similar to Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, I think, is the third best player on a championship team. So maybe we'll bump Aaron Gordon up a little bit. I don't know, though. I think that's kind of fair. I think Derek White's so impactful. I just think, I don't know. I'm going to leave it there for now. Devin Vassell, unfortunately, he's injured right now. I think when he comes back, he'll be towards this CJ McCollum kind of range. I think we might move CJ McCollum down a little bit, just based on what we've, put on this B tier so far. I think CJ is going to have to be a top of a C tier type of player. If we're going to put Cam Thomas and, Kobe White and Derek White, I just think that makes sense. I'm going to reserve this for top 50, no question, top 40 type of players. I think Devin Vassell is a tough one to rank because when he comes back from injury, he's going to be in this kind of range here. So we're going to put him around here. That makes a lot of sense for now. Spencer Dinwiddie, I don't know, man. I think he's probably going to have to be, top of F, unfortunately. He's been so inefficient as of late. Hasn't really found a big role with the Mavericks yet. I'm not sure you trust Spencer Dinwiddie in a playoff situation anymore. I don't think that's the type of player he's going to be. And I don't think a lot of, even some of these guys are going to be like playoff situation type players like Cam Whitmore, Don McClingan, Davion Mitchell. I don't think in a playoff rotation you trust them, but I think you trust them more than Spencer Dinwiddie. Give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit more, because it's just not happening right now for Spencer Dinwiddie in his career with the efficiency. And so you might say, well, Alex Sarr in F tier, but you have Donovan Clingan in D tier. I just think we have to give these players the benefit of the doubt, because they haven't had the roles that some of these guys have had, and they perform like pretty okay in their roles. I know Cam Whitmore's shooting abysmal so far, but that's just kind of how I see it. Dante DiVincenzo is a C tier player, somewhere around here. Super impactful shooter and spacer, just an elite shooter. Good, hustle guy, high motor guy as well. D'Lo's another C tier guy, somewhere around this range. I think that's kind of fair for him. Put him maybe slightly ahead of Bogey. We'll have to see. Dorian Finney-Smith, this is a really good role player. If we're gonna say Caleb Martin and Christian Brown, yeah, I'm gonna have him. I'm gonna have him here. I think he's, I would say a little bit better than serviceable. That's something I'd say. Draymond Green, I'm gonna have him somewhere towards the top of the C tier. He's still such a good versatility utility piece. Excellent playmaker, decision maker, great defender. Good rebounder. He's still Draymond Green, just maybe on a little bit less of a scale than he was in his prime. Drew Eubanks, I think he's fine as like a backup or third string 5-man. I'd probably have him towards the end of D tier. We'll have to see what his role looks like with the Jazz as the season progresses. Is this a guy that you really want as a backup center on like a really good basketball team? I'm not so sure. You know what? I think he's a good offensive rebounder. D, like bottom D is fair. Derrick Rose has to go at the bottom of F tier because he actually retired and he's not playing basketball anymore, so it doesn't really make sense for him to be on this list in general. Duncan Robinson, probably a high D tier, low C tier type of guy. I think that's kind of fair for him. At his best, he's certainly a C tier guy. Such a great shooter that can really change the course of a game for Miami. But I'm not sure he does a lot else other than shoot. I think he's a smart player who makes good decisions. He can play make a little bit as well, but I just think bottom C tier is fair. Dyson Daniels, dynamic defender, such a great defender. He's been so good defensively with the Hawks so far. Really has impacted them, taking a bigger role with the Hawks, and honestly, still such a young guy. I think he has such high potential defensively in this league to be all NBA caliber and good playmaker as well. Really good playmaker. Joel Embiid is going to be our first S tier. I just think he's better than some of these guys down here, just not by a whole lot, to be fair, but he is at the back end of my top 5. I would actually have him 5th in the NBA right now if I had to rank a top 5 list. And again, this S tier is going to be for the top 5 players in the NBA. He will be at the back end of it by the time the list is concluded. But I do think there is a separation between Joel Embiid and whoever's going to be the top player on this A tier. Might even be AD, to be honest with you. Last time we saw Joel Embiid healthy, you could say I'm a Sixers fan and I'm a biased Sixers fan. I don't think so. Last time we saw Joel Embiid healthy, he was scoring 35 points a game, just dominating the league, clear front runner for MVP, and so I have to put him there. Jimmy Butler is going to be, man, this is tough. I'm going to put him in the bottom half of A tier. I think he's top 20 still for sure, no question. At his best, he is easily top 20. Eric Gordon hasn't really played great with my Sixers yet, but I think he's serviceable enough. I think he's a rotation player, in this league. I can say that. Evan Mobley, man, do we put Evan Mobley in the B tier? I think he's certainly trending that way, but I'm gonna put him in the top of C tier for now. I just don't think he's hit that mark yet of some of these guys, DeRozan, Chet Holmgren. That's gonna be his comp, right? Guys like Sengun and Chet Holmgren. Is he as good as those guys yet? I'm just not so sure, but he certainly could prove me wrong by the end of the season. I think he's probably second or third best player on this Cavs team throughout their first 10 wins and 10 games. And so like De'Aaron Fox is going to be B tier. Just a great second option type of player, 1A 1B with Sabonis, one of the best point guards in the league. Franz Wagner, this is a top end C tier type of guy. I think he is certainly as good of a second option. Unfortunately, Paolo's down right now, so he has to be the first option. He's not quite that caliber of player, but he's going to be one of the better second options you're going to find in the league. Fred VanVleet, I could put him B tier. I just don't think that's fair to guys like Derek White or CJ McCollum. I think him and CJ have similar kind of comps. I think he's a little bit better than CJ at the moment, but I could be wrong about that. I think he's just fine right here. Markelle Fultz, not so sure you want him in rotation anymore. I just think F tier, probably the best place for him. Unfortunately hasn't even signed with a team. Gabe Vincent, probably the back end of this tier here. Guys like Kyle Lowry Lowry, Eric Gordon. He's played a little bit better with the Lakers this season. I think he's a little bit more healthy now, and so that's helping him out. And I do think he's a good player, when he's healthy, like a serviceable rotation piece that you could rely on in a, winning type of situation. And hopefully that continues for the Lakers. Daniel Gafford, really great backup five, starting backup five, one of the better guys you're going to find in the league in that role, rim runner, lob finisher, rim protector, rebounder type of guy. Just a great, player in that regard. I'm going to have to put him down here with guys like DeAndre Ayton, Vucevic. I think that's kind of a good place for him. Maybe a little bit better than both of those guys. Not so sure about that. Well, let me know down in the comments. I'm trying to make quick decisions here, folks. We got to get through this list. Look how many more players we have. Gary Trent Jr. I think this is, it's tough. Do I put him in C tier or D tier? I think he's good. At his best, he's good. I think he's fine. I think he's good defensively, on the perimeter. I think when he commits to that, he's really good at it. He can be inefficient, like pretty inefficient from, the offensive side of the floor. He's not really playing well with the Bucks this season offensively, like at all. He's shooting really poorly. So I think like D tier is pretty good. I think like top end of D tier. GG Jackson, when he comes back, you're gonna have to be C tier when he comes back, right? Like we'll have to definitely put him in there. Really good shooter, right? Giannis is top 5. He's gonna be in the S tier easily. I don't even have to explain that. I mean, he's just top 3 player in the world, right? He's gonna be top 3 on my list here. Josh Giddey, he's had a really good start to the season with the Bulls. I think he has, silenced a lot of critics, and so I'm gonna put him in C tier. And we're really filling up on this C tier. I'm gonna have to move some guys down probably. Man, we'll figure it out by the end of the list. We'll get there, folks. Bear with me. Rudy Gobert, top of C tier, right? Like, yeah, I think Evan Mobley, Aaron Gordon, Derek White, that kind of range makes sense to me. Gordon Hayward, another guy that retired. Not sure why he's on here. Grady D, not gonna say the name, don't want to get demonetized. I think he's in this range now, but he's actually playing well. Let me check his numbers real quick. He's been really good this season, has a bright future in this league, so I might put him in C tier. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, Grady is C tier, no question. I mean, he's averaging 20 a game for the Raptors on like pretty good efficiency. Okay, yeah, he's gonna move all the way up here. I was unfamiliar with your game this year, sir. Grant Williams is a D tier player. I think when he's at his best, he's like a really good, corner shooter, 3-point catch and shoot guy. Just has some antic problems and maybe some stuff like that. Just, not really a great contract, but I think Grant Williams is serviceable enough as a role player. I don't know that he's someone you wouldn't want to put on the floor in a winning situation. I think he's capable of good things on a basketball floor. Grayson Allen, one of the best shooters in the league, easily C tier. Tim Hardaway Jr., another D tier guy. I think you're fine with him in your rotation. Don't think you'll love it if you're a playoff team. James Harden, I think he's B tier. I mean, this might be controversial, putting guys like Derek White below him, putting guys like Rudy Gobert below him and stuff like that, Evan Mobley. I just think he's B tier, no question. He's still one of the more talented offensive players in the league. He's capable of taking over games, any situation really when he gets rolling, from that 3-point arc, step backs. He's still one of the best playmakers I've ever seen, still capable of doing that night to night. Harden is just, he's still that guy, he might not be the Houston James Harden that he was, but he's still like the Philly, Brooklyn James Harden in my opinion, with the Clippers. And, just a dynamic type of player that really, again, how many players in the C tier are capable of taking over a game against like top tier competition? I just don't know how many we can say that for. And so, also just the playmaking, the scoring, it's just supreme, right? Harrison Barnes, I think probably low end of C tier, right? Like he's a really good, shooter, scorer. I'm gonna have to look at his numbers here with San Antonio. I believe he's playing well so far to start the season with San Antonio. Really good pickup for them, honestly. Okay, so he's averaging 10 a game, not shooting particularly well. Okay, yeah, I think actually, I might move him down to D tier at this moment. I think maybe some of these guys up here are either a little bit more dynamic or a little bit more like specialist heavy. Like for instance, when I say specialist heavy, I mean like Dorian Finney-Smith is a really great 3-and-D guy, probably one of the better like pure just 3-and-D guys you can find. Duncan Robinson is like the thing that he is good at. He's one of the best at in the league, which is shooting. Same with Buddy Hield. I just can't really find one of those things for Harrison Barnes. I think like Bojan Bogdanovic is like a good kind of comparison for him because they're both just like solid offensive players with you can count on for, I guess, like pretty good catch and shoot production and, just offensive play in general. Herb Jones is easily C tier. I know he's had a poor start to the season, but he belongs in that C tier top end of it, no question. Move Cam Thomas up a little bit. Tyler Hero, another C tier guy, just talented player, kind of blends in with a lot of these guys. CJ McCollum, Devin Vassell, right? Like that kind of range. Kobe White, that kind of territory, I think makes a lot of sense for him. Isaiah Hartenstein, probably another C tier guy, right? No question. I mean, when you look at some of these other centers here, I think he fits in pretty nicely. Guys like Daniel Gafford, right? That kind of tier of player. Isaiah Stewart, I think is a D tier, kind of top end D tier guy. I like his game. I like his motor. Honestly, pretty good floor spacer as a center. I just think he's undersized and he's kind of a tweener, right? Like, we don't really use that word anymore because a lot of positionless basketball is played in the NBA now. But this is a player that you just kind of wonder, is he really like a natural power forward, or is he really like a natural center? I think he's probably more of a natural center. But the problem is when you put him with guys, in that center position, he's just not really a guy you'd, I guess, feel confident starting at center, on a really good team. I like his motor. I like his effort. I think he's a good finisher. I think he does a lot of good things defensively. I think he's pretty versatile. I just don't know like what his role or position is on a really good team. We just really haven't seen that yet. Ja Morant's B tier, easy money for Ja Morant. You could even say A tier, but I think he's probably more towards like the top of B at this point. We just have to see a more complete season from him. We just haven't really seen that in a long time. And so like with guys like Brandon Ingram, Damian Lillard, I think that kind of makes sense for where you'd put Ja Morant. I might move Bradley Beal down a little bit and DeJounte Murray. And I think that's good. Yeah. Desmond Bane too. Yep. Jabari Smith Jr., another C tier guy. I think he kind of blends in with this like, floor spacing, power forward, good defender, rim protector kind of guy, similar to a Brandon Clark, right? I think he's probably a little bit more versatile than Brandon Clark, but that type of caliber player, I think, for sure. Jaden Ivey, he's playing excellent basketball to start the season. This is another guy that, along with Cade Cunningham, could take leaps here within the coming couple of years. I think he's certainly on his way to this Devin Vassell territory, Kobe White territory, right? If he continues his production throughout the season. Jaden McDaniels, C tier easily, one of the best, another just great 3-and-D player. Jay Crowder isn't on a team, so I'm gonna have to put him in F. Jaime Jaquez Jr., kind of a weird one. I think for now we're gonna have to put him at the low end of C, but I think at the end of the day, like, he just hasn't played well this season, and I expected him to take a lot better of a leap this season with the Miami Heat. He just hasn't really shown that, and so at the moment he's gonna be low end C, but I think at by the time the season ends, he could be kind of towards the middle here. I expected a lot more from him to start out. Jakob Poeltl's a good center, really quality center. Just does a lot of things well. Efficient player, smart player, reads the game well, understands it well. Good rim protector, good rebounder. Just a solid fundamental big that you'd love to have on a good team, whether it's backup or starting. Jalen Duren, have to see more consistency from this guy, but certainly a talented big man. At his best, he's a rebounding machine. He's a double machine. Just have to see consistently, right? Like, just polished consistency for him. Jalen Green, I think it's time we just put him in this B tier. No question. I think he's just that caliber of player, right? And I still want him to be a better playmaker. I mean, it's just, he's really shot the ball well from 3 this season. Again, still pretty inefficient from the field, but has improved defensively, and I think that's a big thing for him. And so I'm gonna have to put him, towards the bottom tier B, but again, just a talented player. One of the more talented players at his position in the league. Just has to find his way to a more well-rounded game. I've been saying that forever, but I think he has started to put the pieces together defensively, and I think he's committing to it. I think he's just a supreme offensive talent, at his age. Jalen Johnson, top tier C guy. This is a great third option on a winning team, in my opinion. For the Hawks, he's really a second option. Just a freak athlete, great transition finisher in general. Also a monster rebounder for that power forward position. You could really see him jump up to B if he puts a little more shot creation together individually. Jamal Murray, I know he's had a rocky start, man, but it's hard not to put him in B. He's got to be in B tier for me personally. One of the better point guards in the league, and I think he belongs up here with guys like Darius Garland and this kind of tier right here. You guys might disagree with like Damian Lillard and Ja Morant being in B tier, but once you see this, A tier kind of fill out a little more, you might agree more. James Wiseman, man, it's unfortunate that he, tore his Achilles, because I was really looking forward to seeing him play a full healthy season with a bigger role. He's really improving as like a good backup 5 in this league, and unfortunately game 1 with the Pacers tears his Achilles, got that contract. So unfortunate. He is a serviceable backup 5 at this point in his career. Jarris Walker, I don't know, man. I think it's either going to be D or F. Just hasn't played a lot with the Pacers this season. This is a player I expected Jarris to take a leap this season, and that was going to be one of the bigger X factors for the Pacers. Just hasn't really found that big role. 12 minutes per game I'm seeing here on 9 games, right? I think he's still got a ton of potential and upside, but Pacers not really giving him that opportunity yet, and so I think you have to give him the the benefit of the doubt, put him at the bottom of D. Maybe you could even say F at this point, but we'll have to see. I don't know. Jared McCain, I don't know. I think if I'm being fair, Jared McCain belongs at the bottom of this tier, right? Like, he's actually put together a good couple of games here for my Sixers with Maxey out and in a bigger opportunity. He's showed a lot of good things. High motor, he shot the ball better. I think he still has a lot of growing to do offensively, no question. He needs to be more consistent around the rim. That's going to be an area of struggle for him in his career, in my opinion, but he's a hard worker and I think he'll figure it out. But at the time of recording this, I don't know that I'd trust him in a winning situation at this point. But at the end of the day, I think, he's just been a little bit better than some of these guys down here. Jared Allen, gonna have to be a top end C tier guy right alongside his buddy Evan Mobley. Probably gonna move Rudy Gobert up a little bit. Yeah, I think that's fair for Jared Allen. Such a great player. One of the better centers in the league, period. Just a very talented two-way big. Jayson Tatum is A tier for me personally. I'd probably have him like up here in this kind of area. Might even have him above AD. I'm just not, yeah, I think we're gonna have to put him above AD, right? He's in my top 10. I have to put him above AD just slightly, but that could change as the season goes along, but nothing really needs to be said about that. He's a top 10 player in the world for me. Jaylen Brown, I think we have to give the benefit of the doubt and put him at the bottom of A tier, even if it's behind someone like, Jimmy Butler. I'm actually going to move Devin Booker up quite a bit. Yeah, I think, in between Ant and AD, that makes sense to me. This looks good for the A tier so far. I just don't know that we could put Jaylen Brown in the top of B tier at this point. I probably would have, a season ago, but just can't really do it. J-Dub's a B tier player. He's just a really great second option on a very, very winning basketball team. Great two-way player, just a monster two-way forward / wing. Jeremy Grant, I think you put like towards the top of B tier, right? Like, he's so impressive, offensively, defensively. He's just a lot of versatility. I think this is a player I just want to see on a winning basketball team again, similar to some of these other guys in this tier. Hasn't really had that opportunity in a few years, and I want to see him get traded to like a winning, basketball team, and so we'll have to see what he looks like on one of those teams. Right now for the, Portland Trailblazers, he's just been excellent as a two-way wing, right? Triple J, I'd say this is probably a B tier player. You could maybe say top of C tier. Like, you say, well, Dehave, you're going to put Evan Mobley in top of C tier. I could put Triple J. I don't know. I just think Triple J's, just a little bit more versatile offensively right now. I think in a couple of years, Evan Mobley could even be in the A tier. I just have to see it for a full season with him, with his increased offensive production. Jokic is the best player on the planet. There's not really a debate about that, in my opinion. If you don't really believe in that, then I don't know what to tell you. You might not be watching NBA basketball, right? But he will remain number one on this entire list of all the players. He's just that great. Jonas Valanciunas, this is a standout type of role player. Just really, really good at everything he does. Great rebounder, really strong guy, and just, good interior presence in general. I think Jonathan Isaac kind of struggling between D and C, because defensively he is so elite. In terms of everything he's able to do defensively, he's just so elite. I just don't know that offensively he is really someone you'd trust out there on the floor in like a late game playoff situation. I still have yet to see him, off the ball be a real, threat offensively and someone you can keep out there on the floor, off the ball. I just think it's not great right now. And so well, he's way better than Duncan Robinson, Dorian Finney-Smith. Duncan Robinson, Dorian Finney-Smith, I just think those guys, you can't really take them off the floor, because while Duncan's primarily an offensive specialist, and you might say, well, Jonathan Isaac is a defensive specialist, but it's a little bit different offensively, because you can kind of hide players defensively when you have a guy like Bam Adebayo and you're Duncan Robinson, but offensively you can't really hide a player. You need to provide something to stay on the floor on that end of the floor. And so I don't know, this is kind of a crazy take, but I'm going to have him in the top of D tier. Jordan Clarkson, instant offense type of six man. I think that's fair. Jose Alvarado, just a serviceable role player. I don't think there's too much to say about that. Josh Green, same thing. We're starting to fill up this D tier a little bit. Just a good, solid enough two-way wing. I don't think he's really a standout like some of these guys. Josh Hart is a standout, no question. He's going to be towards this type of role player tier. Just a great two-way player you'd love to have on a winning team. Nikola Jokic, another standout player. Love his improvement with the Heat. Drew Holiday, he's going to have to be right up there at the number one kind of spot here. He's just maybe the best, deep all around, like pound for pound defensive player in the league. He's just so dynamic. And I'm actually going to move up. Yeah, I think this makes sense. I'm actually going to move Aaron Gordon down quite a bit. Put Drew Holiday, Derek White, top of C tier, and Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Rudy Gobert. That makes sense to me. All right. Jusuf Nurkic, he's a good center. Nothing too crazy. I don't think he's like a great NBA center or anything like that. I just think he's good enough to be a starting caliber center. Pretty good. I would say probably probably slightly above average. Karl Anthony Towns, he's a B tier, right? Easy B tier for me. No question. He's one of the better second options in the league, has been for quite some time now. I don't think that's really too much of a debate. Kawhi Leonard, wow, he's got to be A tier, right? Yeah, when he's healthy, I mean, he's a top, 15, top 10 type of talent in this league when he's healthy. Last season was so efficient, just a great player. Might move JB up just a little bit, not so sure. Yeah, I think I'm cool with this actually. I'm gonna move Jimmy up a little bit. Might move Jaylen Brown up a spot, Bam down a little bit, Kawhi Leonard up, kind of towards this Devin Booker, kind of Jalen Brunson kind of range. KCP, easy C tier, right next to like Caruso, that kind of player. KD is A tier easily, no question. He's top 10. He's probably gonna be just behind Tatum. Yeah, maybe a little bit above Tatum. I'm not so sure. I'll leave it there for now. We'll see what happens. Keegan Murray is a really good like third option, just a dynamic shooter. If I had MPJ on the list, he'd be right near MPJ. He's really improved into a good defender as well, like a really good defender. Keldon Johnson, C tier, kind of middle of the pack here. I don't really know. I think that's kind of fair. Not so sure he's the type of player we thought he was, a couple of years ago, but still a good player. Kelly Olynyk, another good player. Just overall, really polished offensive type of guy. Very good playmaker at the center position. Excellent, just all around offensive center. Just a really good player. Kevin Huerter, dynamic shooter, right? Hasn't really produced a whole lot as much as you'd like over the past couple of years, so we're gonna have to put him towards the bottom here. But at the end of the day, I think he will, get back on that track. Keontae George, I'm gonna have him like top of this because I do still believe in him as like a future stud NBA point guard for the Jazz. He just has been so inefficient, but there's something there. Like he's a really talented player, and playmaking wise and offensively, just has to be more efficient. Yeah, I really do believe in him still, and I think you have to put him in this tier here. Chris Middleton, man, do I put him in the B tier? You might have to, right? Probably, right? When Chris Middleton's healthy, over the course of the end of last season, going into the playoffs, I think we saw Chris Middleton take a little bit of a leap to where he was pre-injuries. That player is certainly B tier, like no question. Top of B tier, even like up here. But this type of Chris Middleton, I think you have to give him the benefit of the doubt just because he hasn't been so healthy. I'd say this caliber of B tier, like towards the end of it, you have to say he is. Corey Kispert's a great shooter. I think he certainly is another guy you could see move by the deadline and someone I'd like to see on a really good team. Klay Thompson, this is a top end C tier type of guy, just a very impactful floor spacer at this point in his career. One of the greatest shooters ever, certainly a Hall of Famer. I think at this point, he's like as impactful as some of these guys up here. This is John Conchar. I don't know if I'd put him in D tier. He's fine. You'd be okay with him in a regular season rotation. Asar Thompson and Alex Sarr, I'm actually going to be bumping up here the way the list is currently going. I don't see a reason not to. I don't know if you want to put them in the same tier as like a Jonathan Isaac at this point, or Isaiah Stewart, or a Cole Anthony, or a Josh Green, Bojan Bogdanovic. But if we're going to give the benefit of the doubt to Klingon and Whitmore and Jared McCain, and Jarris Walker and John Conchar, I think you have to say that they're good enough to be in this tier, right? Albeit the bottom of the tier, but you have to, I guess, give them the benefit of the doubt there, right? And I guess that goes for Blake Wesley and Marvin Bagley, right? I think, these guys down here, I just have a problem with being in this tier, and that's because, most of them aren't even on a team. Some of them retired. One's in the G League, and one, can't shoot above 35%. Luke Cornett, I think he's fine. I don't know. I think he's pretty good as like a backup, or third string five. I think he's probably one of the better third string fives in the league, but I think that's a good place for him right there. Jonathan Kuminga, we're gonna have to put in the C tier just because he's a, very good finisher and, athlete and, just honestly scorer in general when he's at his best. Kyle Kuzma, I've kind of fallen a lot lower on him. I used to be a lot higher on Kuzma. Can't really put him in B tier at this point. Gonna have to put him in, with guys like Franz Wagner. And now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm gonna have Chris Middleton, I'm gonna have to bump Franz Wagner up. No question. He's got to be up there. And that might go for Jeremy Grant as well. Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Not so much for Kyle Kuzma, but I think this all kind of makes sense. CJ still, I'm not so sure about. Kyrie Irving, top of B tier for me. Like if we're going to say Damian Lillard's B tier, we're going to say Ja Morant. I think this is a good spot for him. I don't have him this high. I don't have him in A tier. LaMelo Ball though is B tier, and I'll tell you why he's not A tier, because by the end of the season, if LaMelo Ball is scoring 30 points per game and averaging stuff that he's averaging, he's going to be an A tier. He just can't be right now. You have to have him ahead of guys like Garland, and at this point Jamal Murray, right? Maybe even De'Aaron Fox. But LaMelo's playing so well this season, and so if he can continues that, I think you have to keep him where he is, maybe even bump him up towards A tier. Zach LaVine, this guy's B tier for me. The way he's been playing with Chicago since he's been healthy again, have to give him the benefit of the doubt, put him in the B tier category. When he's healthy, great scorer in general, just a pure efficient bucket at his best, and he's been showing that so far this season. So I'm gonna have him up here next to guys like DeRozan and Cade. This is LeBron, I believe, the sunshine meme. Certainly an A tier player, top 10 in the league, no question. I think LeBron is probably between, I don't know, I'm kind of struggling to rank these guys here because AD has started so great this season, but I don't know if I'd put him ahead of KD or Jayson Tatum really, or even LeBron, to be honest with you. I think this is kind of a fair ranking right here. But yeah, LeBron's top 10 player in the world. Derek Lively II, another C tier guy, kind of around this Hartenstein kind of range. Daniel Gafford, this makes sense to me. Lonnie Walker, not on a team, can't rank him. Lonzo Ball, man, he can't stay on the floor, and so I might have to put him in D tier, I guess. But I'll tell you what, I was so excited for Lonzo Ball's return, and just hasn't gone the way we wanted here. As NBA fans, we're really pulling for this guy. I think the NBA community, we are, but Lonzo Ball's played 3 games, 15 minutes per game, and just not really a factor for the Bulls, right? And so he hasn't really played terrible, but at this point, I just don't know if I can put him in this D tier. I want to, I just don't know if I can. I'm gonna put him in it just because we're rooting for Lonzo here, but wow. Kevon Looney, this is a D tier guy for me. Certainly, I think he's a good quality backup or third string 5, but it's kind of how I feel about it right now. Kevin Love, same kind of thing. I think he's a really great floor spacer, just a good veteran to have on a team, great passer, and a really smart, high IQ guy with winning experience, but a good rebounder as well. I just think kind of the same kind of thing with Kevon Looney and Isaiah Stewart, Luke Cornett. These guys are just a little bit kind of in the same tier there. Lou Dort, I don't have a problem with him being towards the top of C tier because he's actually been a lot more efficient offensively with the Thunder last season. Let me check out his numbers this season, but his defense is really dynamic and versatile, helps them a lot, and he's proved that his inefficiency offensively won't really be enough of an issue to keep him out of a rotation offensively. He's shooting that cover off the ball this season, and last season shot really well also, and so he's got to be towards this top end role player type of status in my opinion. Luka, he's easily S tier, another easy S tier, top 3 player in the world. He is right, oh man, do I put him in front of Giannis? I'm gonna put him behind Giannis, right behind Giannis, probably the 3rd best player in the world. The reason I have Giannis ahead just because of the two-way versatility, but he's offensively, you could even make a case he's the 2nd best in the world offensively. I think he probably is, right? Malik Beasley, he's fine. I think he's actually a really great shooter, but at the end of the day, I think this is kind of a good place for him. Marcus Smart, really great defender, obviously, can knock down a 3 when he is on his game. He's a good playmaker, great hustle guy, great effort, just high motor type of guy. He's easily in this top tier role players here. Mark Williams, another guy I think you have to give the benefit of the doubt to. Hasn't been healthy a whole ton to start really every season, but when he's on the floor, man, he is a difference maker for the Hornets, and so one of the better, two-way centers in the league, I think, when he's healthy. Larry Markkinen, easy, probably B tier, right? Yeah, easy B tier, just in front of these guys, Middleton, Jeremy Grant, Triple J. Yeah, I'd probably have him probably towards this Jamal Murray. I'm a lot higher, I think, on Larry Markkinen than a lot of people. I'm gonna have him down here, above Harden, above, yeah, I think that's kind of fair. I think Larry Markkinen's just a special type of forward. Scoring the basketball, shooting. He's just one of the best shooters in the league, pure shooters. Man, he is a tough cover and just a tough guy to scheme for. His spacing is just so elite. Provides such gravity for you out there. Mason Plumlee, D tier. I guess he's fine. I wouldn't really love having him in my rotation come playoff time. T. Thibault, same kind of thing. He's a great defender. Hasn't shot the ball well really throughout his career much. And so I think he's a really, obviously, difference maker defensively. He's an all NBA defender with my Sixers a few times. But man, he is another guy like Isaac, and just can be a liability sometimes out there offensively. Mikal Bridges, this is kind of an interesting one because if we're gonna say Jeremy Grant's B, I'd probably put Mikal Bridges in top of C tier. Maybe you could make a case for B, I just wouldn't make it at this point. Mike Conley, I think bottom C tier. I know he's had a rough start to the season, but at the end of the day, just a really good stabilizing point guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Miles Bridges, this is a C tier player, really good scorer, great athlete, great great transition finisher. Good like number 3 option, I think, on a good team. I think that's kind of fair. Mitchell Robinson, another C tier guy, really good, rim protector and a great rebounder. Certainly towards like the top end, of these centers here when we're talking about guys like Jalen Duren, Jonas Valanciunas, right? DeAndre Ayton, I think he's probably a little better than some of those guys. Mo Bamba, I guess D tier. I think he's like a 3rd string center. Malik Monk, easily C tier, like really good C tier, like, really great role player, great offensive guy to have on your team. Big time, difference maker for the Kings over the past couple years. Same thing with Michael Porter Jr., top end of this, right next to Keegan Murray. One of the best shooters in the league is Michael Porter Jr. Miles Turner, great, talented two-way center. Just a very unique type of skill set that, actually is kind of similar to Naz Reid, who is a great defender and a very good floor spacer at center. I think Naz Reid should be, somewhere up here. One of the best role players in the league, 6th man of the year last year. John Collins, really good role player. C tier, feels good for me. Nembhard, same thing, right? At his best, hasn't been shooting well. None of the Pacers really have, to be honest with you. But when Nembhard's rolling, man, in the playoffs last year, he was absolutely money. One of the better, ball handling young guards in the league. Such a good playmaker and a great shooter. Good offensive player, good defender as well. Nesmith, really good shooter. I think he's a good defender as well. I think somewhere in this range makes sense for him. For me personally, good, just small forward in general. Claxton, dynamic defender, one of the best big defenders in the league. He's got to be up here towards these, top end centers in this kind of bracket here for C. Norman Powell is such an offensive efficiency like beast, right? He is an efficient scorer, man. And you look at his production the past couple seasons with the Clippers, has elevated his game such a great deal. He should be in running for 6th man of the year, in my opinion, if he doesn't start too many games. Obi Toppin, really good finisher, transition scorer, shoot the 3 ball a little bit better as of late. And I think he's just a great athlete. Makes sense in C tier. OG Anunoby, I think you probably put in like top end C tier, right? Like no question. One of the better role players in the league. If we're making a list of top 10 role players, two-way wings, it's Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby in the top 10 of those. Guys like Derek White, Drew Holiday, they give them a run for their money for best two-way tandems as far as role players go. Isaac Okoro, I think, is bottom C tier. I think he's a good role player. I think he, is a really good defender and has shot the ball better as of late as well. Onyeka Kongwu, another good center, who just is an efficient player on both ends. I think he cracks the C tier, middle kind of tier bracket, right? Kelly Oubre, same kind of thing. Like he's just a great athlete, good finisher. For my Sixers, has provided a lot of good defense as well. I think he's just a good two-way player who makes a lot of sense in the C tier bracket. Paolo Banchero, this is a B tier guy if I've ever seen one. And honestly, I think Paolo Banchero could move up to A tier by the time the season's over. Like he is so good. And he was so good. Unfortunately, dealing with that injury, he'll be out for at least a month, which is so unfortunate for the Magic. I really feel for them because he was playing excellent basketball before his injury. He's got to be like top end C tier, right? Like one of the best forwards in the league, like probably top 25 player, top 30 player, right? Pascal Siakam, another B tier guy, so good, so versatile, one of the more underrated players in the league. Great playmaker, good scorer, good enough number 2 option to be on like a really great team. Just such a good talent, all around talent, just a Swiss Army knife out there. Pat Connaughton, gonna have to put him in D tier, unfortunately. Patrick Williams, I think, is a very good two-way role player, like just a great 3 and D player. I think that's kind of a fair spot for him. Paul George, PG 13, PG 8, gonna be in the B tier for me, probably top end of B tier, like around here, around this kind of range. I think. What do we think about that? Is that kind of fair? If you're ranking like 3rd options or 2nd options, he's got to be in the top 5 or probably top 5 for either of them, right? Just a, pure bucket. Bag Twitter loves him. We love him here. As a Sixers fan, such as myself, PJ Washington, kind of around this like Gigi Jackson, Kelly Oubre kind of territory, right? Like DeAndre Hunter, maybe a little bit higher. I think he's just a good two-way power forward that starts, starting caliber. Actually, Jordan Poole is shooting the basketball exceptionally well this season, and so he has redeemed himself in my eyes. If you asked me last year, I would have had him in this D tier. He has elevated his game to former Warriors glory. Kristaps Porzingis is a B tier player, just such a freak talent, one of the best floor spacers of any big man in the league. He's got to be in this B tier, right near guys like Markkanen and Chet Holmgren, right? Like that makes a lot of sense for me that he would be, up in this kind of bracket, right? Next to guys like Towns makes a lot of sense. Maybe Towns is probably a better player than him, but Peyton Pritchard, this is a very good role player, standout guy for the Celtics. Good two-way ball handler and shot maker, right? Same thing, kind of similar thing with IQ, right? But I think IQ, a lot more dynamic, probably like top end of this, kind of of Devin Vassell, Kobe White kind of territory, I'd say. Julius Randle, B tier, easy money B tier player. He's got to be like, yeah, he's got to be near like Cat, right? Like kind of right around this range. I might move Porzingis down a little bit, quite a bit actually. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Austin Reeves, I think is probably like high-end C tier, right? Like he's played really well with the Lakers this year, and really proving that he's like that third option that they needed, and that's really good for the Lakers because now they don't really need any big trades, I don't think, if Austin Reeves continue to play like the way he has. Reed Shepherd, we just got to see it. We just got to see it on the NBA floor. I don't think necessarily his play so far is representative of what his career is going to be like, but I just think D tier makes the most sense right now. Like he's just not shooting well, not getting a good opportunity. Reggie Jackson, man, yeah, D tier is fair. He's a Sixer and I support all my Sixers, but man, I'm just not sure Reggie Jackson's going to be like a rotation caliber player anymore in this league. Rashawn Holmes, same kind of thing, third string center, pretty good, high motor, another former Sixer who I loved a lot when he was here. But RJ Barrett, he's playing really well with the Raptors just in general last season and this year. He's just a really good scorer. I think it makes sense around this kind of like Miles Bridges, Jaden Ivey, Michael Porter Jr., this like tier of player. He's just really good. Rob Dillingham hasn't gotten a big opportunity with the Wolves, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there, put him in the D tier because I think he will be a good NBA player. Time Lord Robert Williams III, just a C tier center. When he's healthy, he is one of the better defenders at the center position. He's a short minutes guy where you put in for 15-20 minutes a night, give you a great effort on both ends, and I think C tier makes a lot of sense in that regard. Ron Holland, he's got to be same thing as maybe a little bit higher than some of these other guys because I think he has gotten a little bit more of an opportunity and proven a little bit more than some of these other rookies, but not so sure he's as good as some of these guys up here in the top of D tier. Rui Hachimura, easy C tier. He's just such a lights out shooter and offensive efficient player, and has kind of taken a jump this season as far as wings go, right? Remove D'Lo up ahead of him there. Russell Westbrook, kind of a tough start for the Nuggets, but I think he is impacting them positively like some of the time. It's just got to be more consistent, from the outside shooting and just in general. Sabonis, easy B tier player, like top of B tier. Yeah, Sabonis belongs in this bracket with like guys like Chet Holmgren, guys like Paolo. Probably going to put him honestly above, some of these other guys. I think he's one of the better power forwards in the league. He's honestly a center now, but still kind of feels like a power forward in my opinion. But yeah, I think he's like right around this Cat territory. He's just such a great offensive player. Sam Hauser's an elite shooter, top tier, kind of similar to Duncan Robinson, maybe a little bit better of a player at this point. Santi Aldama, he belongs in C tier. He's had a great start to the season with Memphis, and I think he's just a talented guy, offensively, and I think he provides a lot of, floor spacing and just good high IQ basketball. Scoot Henderson, I'm gonna have to put him in D tier just because I don't think you can really trust him in like winning situations at this point. I really am still a believer of Scoot Henderson. I think he has some of the highest upside of any guard in the league, and that's not even exaggerating for the young guards. I think he's right up there. At the end of the day, we just have to see it over an 82 game season consistently. Dennis Schroeder belongs in the C tier. Had a great start to the season with the Nets. He's played really well. He's shot the ball well. He's run the team well. The Nets have 4 wins at this point. They're 4-5, which is crazy, and he's been a big part of that. He's such a good runner of an offense. He can really just kind of run an offense efficiently. He's a good playmaker, a good high IQ basketball player with good shooting and scoring upside as well on any given night. Seth Curry, not sure you want him in a playoff rotation, but a great shooter. D feels right. Colin Sexton, this is a guy we could see move by the deadline, but I think he's an excellent scorer. Could see a move for him as well. With some of these Utah Jazz players. Shaedon Sharpe, when he's healthy, he's a C tier player. I think he has a lot to prove this season, and I think he will. I think he's going to take a massive leap when he comes back from injury. At the time recording this, hasn't played. SGA, he's going to be in my top 5. He's going to be the 4th best player, right ahead of Joel Embiid. When we're talking about guards that, two-way guards, we just haven't really seen a two-way guard quite like SGA in a very long time. You could say Anthony Edwards is similar, but most of the top 10, 15 guards in the league are pretty offensive primary guys. SGA does it on both ends so well. He kind of reminds me of like a prime Dwayne Wade. Like if Dwayne Wade was like a modernized version of Dwayne Wade, right? Like just a slasher, get to the basket, create such a creative finisher and player, really good playmaker. The numbers don't always suggest that, but he's such a creative playmaker and just a great defensive stopper, block, steals. He does it all, man. He does all things you need a superstar player to do on the floor. He's just such a great two-way guard. 4th best player in the league for me, and that is going to round out the S tier. Anthony Simons, just a freak from beyond the arc. He's a excellent off the ball shooter, like one of the best in the league. And I think he belongs up here with these Cam Thomas, CJ McCollum type of guys. I think certainly has proved that he is capable of putting up like 20 a game on just otherworldly off the dribble 3-point numbers. He is another guy you could see moved from the Blazers. Jeremy Sohan, I think people are too down on him. Like, I really like his game, and I think he's got a good basketball IQ, fundamental understanding of the game. He, does a lot of different versatile things on both ends. And I think people are just really down on him, and I think he's going to make a fantastic NBA player. Already kind of is a really good player. Donovan Mitchell, that's an A-tier player if I've ever seen one, folks. This guy is top 15, top 20, maybe even top 10, at his best, you could say. I think he's in the running for guys like Ant and D-Book as like the best two guard in the league. I think that, the jury's kind of out on that. What do you guys think? Who's the best two guard in the league? Is it Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, or Devin Booker? It's probably one of those guys, right? Steph Curry, A-tier, just outside of that S-tier. Guys like LeBron, guys like KD, guys like, Devin Booker, Anthony Davis. Like, he's right in this kind of mix right here. I think, we could put him above Tatum. I don't know where to put Tatum, though. Like, is he better than Steph or KD, LeBron, AD? Like, this is kind of a tough kind of range, but I'd probably put Mr. Sunshine here slightly. I don't know. Am I biased? I love LeBron. I don't know. Stephon Castle, another rookie that hasn't played all too well this season. We're kind of seeing a theme in that regard, but at the end of the day, he's going to make a great, two-way defensive monster from that guard position. I love his game. I think he's going to be a D tier for now, but that'll change through time of his career. Steven Adams, I like as a backup 5. I think he's just so physical, so tough, brings that old school edge to the game that I love, and I just love his effort as a backup 5. I think he belongs in the C tier, no question. Max Strus, probably a C tier guy, right? Like, good offensive creator, has done a lot more facilitating with the Cleveland Cavaliers than he did with the Heat. It's worked out pretty well for him. Jalen Suggs is an elite tier role player, all NBA defender, great shooter, just a smart player, gritty player that I love his game so much. He's just such a great two-way player. Terry Rozier, gonna belong in this C tier, just a good shot creator. Maybe he could be a little bit inefficient at times, but when he gets hot as well, he is capable of great things offensively, night to night. Talen Horton-Tucker, gonna be in the D tier for now on the Chicago Bulls, but we just haven't seen him return to that former Lakers form, right? But I do like his game. Tajon Salon, same thing. He's gonna be a good shooter in this league and a good, dynamic type of forward, but I have to see it night to night. TJ McConnell is one of the best backup point guards in the league, maybe the best. I think he belongs up here with guys like Cason Wallace of great backup point guards. Tobias Harris, I'm gonna have like bottom tier C. I think Tobias belongs somewhere in this kind of range. Like, he's still capable of good offensive outings, but we know what he's good at, we know what he's not good at, and I just think this kind of range is probably pretty fair for him, right? Trae Young, this is a player that you could make a case for A tier, but I think I'm gonna put him at the top of B, like in this kind of point guard range right here. I think that makes a lot of sense for Trae. I'm gonna move LaMelo Ball up a little bit too. Trey Jones is a good backup point guard as well, really good playmaker, decision maker. Tyrese Maxey, he's gonna have to be in the B tier. As much as I'd love to put him in the A tier, I love this guy so much, my favorite player, but I'm gonna have to put him in the B tier for now. Tyrese Halliburton, another B tier guy, just flat out. When he's at his best though, like he is probably in this A tier range, but I think like around this kind of territory is really where you'd see Tyrese in a good position in the top of B tier. Tyus Jones, another great decision maker. These are like the best like backup kind of point guards in the league. Cason Wallace, TJ McConnell, right? Peyton Pritchard, Trey Jones, like these guys make a lot of sense in that spot. Jared Vanderbilt, man, we got to see him play healthy basketball, and we got to see him not be a liability offensively for me to put him anywhere other than D. Vince Williams Jr. belongs in C tier. I just don't know where. Maybe around like a Christian Braun kind of territory. Walker Kessler, I think he belongs somewhere in the bottom of C tier. I just don't know where. We'll put him right there for now. Wemby's a B tier. Easy selection for me. I think Wemby has obviously proved that, he is in this kind of range. We just have to see him take the leap to this A tier kind of range. Haven't really seen that quite yet, in my opinion, but I just think he has a little bit more growing to do until he's in this A tier. That's my personal opinion. Wendell Carter Jr., love his game. I think he's a good, quality center. Gonna be in the C tier. Andrew Wiggins, another C tier guy, great two-way wing. He's played better with the Warriors this year. D tier, Zachary Ricochet. I think that's just kind of fair right now with the way the list is going. Zach Edey, same kind of thing. None of these guys other than Edey have got really consistent roles or played consistent basketball. Zaire Williams, I think he's he's played a little bit better, but I'm having him in D. Zion Williamson, B tier player. You know, at his best, again, he's an A tier. It's just some consistency issues. We haven't seen him play dominant this season so far, you know, as much as we'd like to. And then Zubac, you know, one of the better centers in the league. He's going to be around the C tier kind of range, right between like Mitchell Robinson, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. And that is the tier list, folks. Here is the tier list for the 2025 season. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here. I'm trying to get through the list. Sorry if I breezed past the last part, but hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. You know, do you disagree with me? Do you agree with my list? Who do you disagree with most? This was a lot of fun. It's gonna be a really long video, but I really did enjoy ranking these players, and I think I did an okay job of it, but you guys can let me know. This is always a tough thing to do on the spot with a camera in your face, but at the end of the day, I try my best. That's all I can really do. But yeah, this is the top 5, the A tier, B tier, C tier. I'll scroll down so you guys can take a screenshot if you want, or I will leave the link in the description to my results here, and you guys can change it if you want and send it to me on Twitter. Like, take a screenshot, send it to me on Twitter. I'll follow you back on Twitter if you do that. But let me know who you disagree with, who you agree with, and what kind of setup for the tier list would you have. Please let me know all of that feedback down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. We're on the grind, man. We're on the road to 15K, and I'll really appreciate it. Leave a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. Helps new people find the video. This has been ranking every single NBA player for the 2025 season. Like, subscribe, you know, share it on Twitter. Let me know what you had on Twitter as well. Link will be down in the description to this tier list if you guys want to play along. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.